Well, guys, I would hate to come off as like totally predictable and everything, but we're going to do something somewhat predictable. So let's go back. Let's play some NHL 95 on the Super Nintendo and see how this is different from the Genesis game. And then likely tomorrow we'll go and we'll play some of one of those 3D games again. So yeah, we'll see what we can do. This is always the big trick on YouTube. Now, if I were intelligent, I probably would not be doing all of these extra videos and all this other stuff, and I would probably just sort of stick to saying, hey, you know what, let's go ahead and focus our efforts on, the next long form video and not worry about, doing this extra gameplay and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think there are quite a few people who enjoy this. I enjoy doing it. I mean, I don't know. It's fun, and I think that's the most important part of all. As most of you probably know, like, there's a ton of different gurus out there and people who say that they have the secret to YouTube this and that and whatever. In my experience, like, the real secret is that you're a person and you're kind of having fun, and that's the sort of thing that people like to watch, Nothing more to it than that. So, oh, Messier with the first penalty of the game. How about that? That was unexpected. So for those of you who haven't played this game, and I'm sure there are some of you out there like that, this game is very, very fast. This game is fast compared to the Genesis version. Is that a good thing or a bad thing is the big question, and I don't know. At least I feel like I know what I'm doing, unlike that PlayStation game yesterday. It doesn't mean that I can do it well, but at least it feels like I kind of know what's going on, so that's the best part of this. But yeah, again, it still is very off-putting to have your defenseman come, like, down the ice at, 200 miles an hour. I will say, though, that I do think that this game is a lot more responsive and a lot quicker than the Genesis version. I think that that's absolutely obvious. I don't know what I just did, but it wasn't good. But yeah, imagine that. You can actually look into the penalty box in this game and see players there. Imagine that. That would never happen in that PlayStation game. Now, the other issue that I have with this, and it's similar to what I have with the Genesis version, is that while the control is kind of smooth, they clearly have changed around the controls and how the directional pad works. It doesn't have that, like, special NHL 94 feel to it, right? If you know what I'm talking about. The other problem, of course, is that the sound is very, very bad. This is much worse than the sound was for NHL 94 on the Super Nintendo. I'll say this, I don't know how you guys watch your YouTube, Let's Play content, but in this particular case, the sound here is best enjoyed with headphones on. So if you're watching this on a TV, you're not going to be able to experience its crappiness. Now, true to form, after playing all of these different hockey games, I still haven't become better at actually controlling any of them. So that's part of the fun. That's alright. There's too much of an emphasis on YouTube anyway on trying to, like, play something the right way and beating it and stuff. It's more fun to have, a hard time and everybody knows it, Now, we got another interference call. I'm not entirely sure what it was that I did, but it's alright. So, of course, as most of you probably know, here in the United States, the big hockey controversy is all around the men's team and that State of the Union address and Trump making, a joke about the women's hockey team and all that stuff. And I've been reading comments where people have been saying, oh, this is normal for hockey players, they're all just a bunch of dumb jocks, and then people bring up the fact that Wayne Gretzky has a close relationship with Donald Trump, and stuff like that. Anyway, I imagine that there are a lot of people in Canada who are not very pleased with that fact. So yeah, it's a lot of ugliness, and we have a lot of ugliness, you know, in the United States, especially right now, and it's not getting better anytime soon, unfortunately. All right, let's go. Yeah, there's all this talk. You hear this all the time around the Olympics, at least in the United States. I presume it's the same in other countries. You hear all of this talk about how, oh, you know, having this victorious team is going to unite us all and all that stuff. And really, the truth is that sports actually generally is not a very good uniter. It's very good at dividing communities. It's not very good at uniting everybody around a single cause, right? Because by its very nature, I mean, you have, you know, our team is the good guys and that team is the bad guys and, you know, all of that stuff. So, I don't know, maybe I'm taking an overly simplistic view of this, but a lot of that stuff is just a bunch of hogwash, in my opinion. Anyway. The nice thing is that now the majority of Americans can get back to completely ignoring the sport of hockey, which is what they were doing beforehand. Oh, whoops, I didn't mean to go to this. How do I get out? I have to push start. My apologies. If you want to go to the next period, you have to push the start button. You can't push like the Y button or whatever it was, the A or B button. Sorry. If you push A or B or whatever it was that I just pushed, then you're going to end up going to look at your instant replays. How you like that, huh? So those of you who are more experienced playing these old games probably know all the tricks. I'm a little bit different. I actually didn't play any of the games in this series for the Super Nintendo. I played some of the Genesis games, but not really all that heavily. And so the plan here, just so you know, this will get all of the AI imitators coming out of the woodwork. The plan here generally is to do a 2D game one day and then do a 3D game the next, and we'll keep this up as long as we possibly can. Hopefully the plan eventually is to try to get views up a little bit higher. Kind of hard to say whether it's going to work or not. YouTube does not always look favorably upon sort of Let's Play type videos, but sometimes it does. And anyway, with all the talk that's out there about like the algorithm and how it works and what you're supposed to... That was ridiculous. Come on. Come on. Did that really happen? You gotta be kidding me, man. That was the most ridiculous goal we've seen yet. I mean, that was nuts. Anyway, with all this talk that I read about, like, how to get the algorithm to do this and that and so on, like, the truth is that what actually succeeds on YouTube is whatever people want to watch. And this is one of the reasons why smart channels will ask the audience, what would you like to watch? And then we'll try to give that to the audience. One thing that you learn, though, once you've been doing this for a little while, and I've been doing this for several years now, is, well, that was pretty aggressive, huh? One thing you learn is that the audience doesn't always necessarily tell you what it is actually willing to watch. Like, people will say, hey, why don't you play this game? And then you're like, okay, I'll go play that. And then nobody watches it, right? So there's a certain like combination of things that needs to happen. And sometimes like the algorithm has to have like the right signs and signals that things are going well and all that stuff. I prefer doing sort of longer series, so at the very least, I can get a better feel for the game and how it flows and stuff. Having said that, sometimes the longer series don't really do that well. It really just depends. It depends on what's going on, and it depends on, you know, what the current trend is and all that stuff. And to be fully like honest and transparent with you, like, oh wow, that was quick. How about that? So we're up 3-1. So to be totally honest with you, like, when it comes to YouTube trends and stuff like that, if you're interested in making a channel or like getting stuff to work or whatever, I really recommend not paying any attention at all to YouTube trends. The reason why I say that is because generally trends on this platform not only don't last very long, but I don't know, it's kind of like a type of fool's gold, right? And like, while you can have success and even do something that goes really viral by hitting the right trend at the right time, you're going to end up missing a lot more often than you hit. And the other problem is that, you know, your sort of trend-setting audience is not really going to establish a relationship with you. What the platform is really about is trying to establish relationships. And this is where, you know, putting out long-running series and, you know, a bunch of long-form content and stuff like that really is helpful. That's really what you want to try to do on the platform. You want to do something to help you earn an actual relationship with your audience. There's another one of those injuries. We had a whole bunch of those the other game. Anyway, so in theory, that's what I'm supposed to be doing here, you know, establishing a good relationship with the audience. In reality, what I'm doing is mostly yelling at the screen while I play a bunch of old hockey games really poorly. But, you know, I mean, maybe there's something about that that resonates with you, right? The sound in this version of this game is a lot worse than the Genesis version. The Genesis version is excellent. This version just is not good. It's not good at all. People have been telling me I need to play the PC version, so maybe that's what we're going to do next. We'll start going through some of these PC games, whatever it is I can get to run easily, that is. I do have trouble from time to time. Things that run in DOSBox tend to run well. Just so you know, if you're unfamiliar with my content, which I presume most of you are, I'm running Linux and have been doing so for a while. Unfortunately, a lot of the 32-bit Windows content, you know, stuff from the late 90s and very, very early 2000s, I tend to have a real hard time getting it to run. And that includes on all sorts of, you know, like QEMU and, you know, all that stuff. Wine and so on and so forth. I've always had a hard time getting that stuff to work. Usually it ends up just not running at all. So I can always give it a try, but chances are that I'm going to end up confusing myself or having to, you know, settle for something that doesn't work that well. Case in point is that over on my soccer channel, I wanted to play the PC version of Euro 2000. This was like a week ago. The PC version of that game is one I remember playing way, way back when it would have been like 2000, 2001, something like that. I owned a copy of it and had a lot of fun with it. But unfortunately, try as I might, I've not been able to get that to work at all in any sort of emulator and Wine or anything like that. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. There's not exactly a guide you can go look up because nobody cares about these old games. Anyway, so, you know, so much for that. I could always, I don't know what I could do. I could always think of something, but, yeah, as a result, I ended up playing the game for the PlayStation instead, which is not quite the same experience. The graphics are really, really janky in that version, but, you know, it was something. Could be worse. Okay, we didn't touch the puck there? How did we not touch the puck there? Bro. So we've seen 2 of those now so far. I mean, I'll put it to you this way. Like, I understand why EA Sports wanted to speed these games up, right? And, you know, as far as like being entertaining and fun for kids to play and stuff, it's nice. But when it comes to like trying to seriously play the game, I mean, what are you supposed to do there? How are you supposed to stop this from coming in? How are you supposed to stop, you know, the other team from scoring a goal like in half a second after face-off? I mean, come on, you know? Anyway, so you know, if you're younger, I doubt most of you are. I think my channel demographics is usually actually people older than me. I'm in my early 40s, so. But if you're younger and you're like wondering what was going on with the speed in all these games, I'll tell you the truth. The truth is that this is back when turbo modes were really popular. So you had games like, you know, Street Fighter 2 Turbo that I think sort of, you know, put it on the map, and then you had different variations of that. And for a little while, everybody was about turbo everything, and you know, video games in the mind of part of the population at least were about playing things really, really fast, and we need everything to be fast and, you know, nothing but action and stuff like that. And in the case of this series, I think that the emphasis on speed really has taken a lot away from it. It feels like just a total mess. It doesn't have the same feel that the earlier games had. So, like, I'm not going to watch a replay, right? But that goal right there was an excellent example of the problem with speed in this series, right? I mean, it's really cool that all of that happened quickly, but it's very, very difficult to savor that type of one-timer, you know, because it wasn't really that well placed. All I was doing was just sort of going here and then passing it and hoping that something would happen. There we go. Get back up. Get back up. But I keep getting all these comments from people who are saying that, you know, back then EA Sports kind of, you know, it did a disservice to its fan base and stuff like that. I haven't looked this up yet for these games. It's going to take me a while to get to the point where we start like reviewing this game and stuff like that. But I'm quite convinced that the magazines probably were very, very favorable about NHL 95, NHL 96, and so on. And like, the reason why they were favorable is probably because of the speed. That's my guess. And by the way, we also kind of tend to underestimate the extent to which the magazines were responsible for what was happening in the trends in some of these games. All right, here we go. Here we go. That was bad. I can see the comment section now. Bro, you're really bad at this game. I've been getting that a lot, so thank you, thank you. I aim to please. It's kind of funny because the action in this game is a lot better than it was in that first PlayStation NHL game, right, that we played yesterday. But I guarantee you that this video will get fewer views. Get back, get back. There we go. That was a beautiful save. I did very, very well there. Thank you very much. I just wanted to point out to you guys that I did a really good job. Sorry, it took me a little while to realize that there was no goalie. And they still have the goalie pulled. Did you see that? They still have 6 men on the ice. Anyway, overall, I don't want to be too dismissive of this game, right? There's some really cool things. We just saw a little animation there of one of our players, you know, reaching up to grab the puck and put it down and stuff like that, right? There's a lot of cool stuff going on. It didn't give me a chance to see the stats, but whatever. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in this game. We can look through this. You can do practice. You can do season mode, which is cool. You can make trades. You can create a free agent. You can release players. Yeah, make player. There you go. Yeah, you can hire free agents. Now, one of the problems I have here is that here's season mode, all right, and then here's trades, right? It's not part of the same mode, right? So you're just like changing whatever's, you know, saved to the game or whatever. Anyway, so I don't know. It's kind of weird. There were already games by then that had like a normal season feature and stuff like that. So anyway, there you have it. This is a good game for 1994. I don't think it's as good as NHL 94. However, including NHL 94 on the Super Nintendo, you might feel differently. Feel free to let me know how I'm wrong, and I'll talk with you again later. Bye-bye.